Good morning, everyone, on this bright and cheery Saturday morning. A little update. Uh, I actually left the house, as some of you know, about 3-4 days ago, and I've been pretty much homebound for about almost 5 years. I didn't leave the house because, for fear of falling, I fell too many times, and it actually scared me. So I woke up 3-4 days ago and told my hubby, I said, no, I'm gonna go. I just let's go. And my focus was not on whether I was gonna fall or not, but whether just pure focus. And I was after fabric. And of course I just went to the local Walmart here and purchased fabric, nothing else. And I think my other half, he was more concerned than I was. And in the process, I've just been doing some recovering because I guess I didn't realize how fast time had gone, but we was in the store for almost 3 hours walking around, and I was just in the craft section. I needed some certain colors that I didn't have, and then I spotted, Walmart don't really have much fabric selection. So as you can see, I've put them all up there, and that's not even all of them. I have some behind my portable wall here that I just use to craft on or put up blocks. And so what I've been doing is, one of the things I've been doing, and this one's hard to hold because it is a big full king size quilt, and I'm not going to try to stand to show you the full size quilt. But I did this one a little different, and it has a border. It actually has two borders, an inner. This would be, if I can show you. Cameras are a pain. Yeah, I could show you this way. This is the inner border. This is the outer border. And let me see if I can show you the main part of the quilt. I just took it and sewed it in strip sets. Let me see here. One. Yes, it's a big quilt. There's 5 strip sets. I did color, white, and then a color. So there's 3 colors and 2 whites inside that strip set for 5. And this is sashing between all these blocks, and it is a big California King quilt. And then I decided, you know what, I'm going to do this a little differently, because I used to make, most of my sewing has always been hand sewing, and when I made quilts, it was more, sorry about that, most of my quilts were done more like you do a comforter. Comforters are done a little different because you actually sew all the way around them and leave a little hole, pull everything through, which is what I did to this one. So I didn't have to mess with the sandwiching. My backing, as you can see, is fleece. That's what's on the back. And no, it's not been quilted, because I'm thinking that I'm going to do this one. I haven't decided. Well, kind of have. But I think I'm going to tie this one instead of quilting it. But then again, I like the quilted quilts. So the other project I'm working on, and I just have to get it finished. And this is all William. He's the one. He just pushes in or whatever. Thank you, William. This is what I decided to do with my star. This is just a shirt. I like to wear it. It's made out of fleece, so it's got a few hairs on it right now. But I'm going to take my star and applique it to the back. And no, purple's not my favorite color. Never has been. But I seen that and I thought, you know what? this will look beautiful. And I really think it's going to look good on there. And, well, I haven't cut any of the strings, and it's not attached yet. But I'm either going to applique it, or I'm thinking of cutting it and actually sewing it in, and that way, instead of just appliquing it, because appliquing it might have issues with the washing machine sooner or later, as opposed to cutting a piece out and sewing it. And if I do that, I might put top stitching, and I will actually, if I do that though, I have to put a backing on it. So I'm not sure, but I wanted it to look like, let me put this in the camera, that it was part of the shirt. And that's why I was going to just applique it, and hopefully I don't fall down. Yeah, I'm not walking real good. That walk took it out of me. But that's okay. I survived. But I was able to pick up some beautiful fabrics, even though it was at Walmart. Walmart does sell small pieces, but most of theirs are like fat quarters. All those are fat quarters. Every one of those stacks are fat quarters, and I thought it was just amazing. It was like, hey, because normally I send my hubby in there, and he does a good job. We do like a video phone call, and he kind of does the camera. He pretty much knows what I'm looking for, but this time I was after something completely different. I don't know what I'm going to do with them at this point, but I will find something. I still am going to stay with the scrappy because I like the scrappy. I call it scrappy. Most of the things I'm doing lately, the colors do go together, even though they're fat quarters. They still go together and match for the most part, and I do love that star. It's sparkly, and it just looks great on their shirt. Excuse me. But that's what I've been up to. I did print out, can't see them, but there is block 1 and block 2, and then I'm going to turn this one. This is the 5 blocks I created. Wasn't sure I'm going to do, and that is how I'm going to put those together. I'm going to make a table topper out of it. I like the way it looks like that. In spite of me giving Tammy from Siberian Wind a hard time about yellow. No. Tammy, again, yellow is not my favorite. No. But I think it looks good that way, and it would work great for a table topper. I don't have, well, I do have a table, glass top table, but it's in the kitchen, which it doesn't really get used. It just sits there, and then I dust it. But that's all. It would make a, and then I have a black vase. It's an antique. It's got gold, I don't know, gold embossed stuff on it. It's like a Chinese vase, and it's pretty good size. And that's what I'm going to put in the center of it, because I thought it would look good. And then I'm going to put, I thought, corn stalks or something on that, or wheat stalks, something on that line. But I have to be careful because my cats think that anything like that is theirs and they can play. Yesterday, one of my big cat, the one that weighs, I think he's like 42 pounds, he found one of my little files, and I couldn't figure out what he was doing throwing up in there. He got my file, and I'm not sure where he got it. He probably got it off the desk, or it fell on the floor, or who knows where he got it. Or I try to keep everything in containers. Like, I use Q-tips for cleaning the machine and whatnot, if I leave the lid off, like the lid just pops off, he'll get in that container and take all the Q-tips out. He just grabs a hold of them and then takes off and starts playing with them. Some of you may have seen the little video of my dogs howling, or singing as I call it, in the background. Somebody Giovanna, and excuse me if I'm not pronouncing your name right, she wanted to hear it, so I said okay. I did put in the description where that actually came from. Most of you have seen my two little, they're Beagle and Chihuahua crosses. The mother and the mother. I have the father and the daughter now, but I had another one. And in some of my thumbnails, you see a little tiny dog sitting on my desk next to the keyboard. And this is what he's sitting on. See how tiny this thing is? That's what he's sitting on. And he was full size. Full size, he weighed 1.5 pounds. We thought there was something wrong with him because I had the mother, and so she had 3 puppies. And I kept 2 of them. And so at a year old, he only weighed 19 ounces. And like, they're impossible. This little tiny puppy, but was at a year old. And so we took him, he had been regular vets, and the vet had been monitoring him just to make sure that there's something. And so at a year old, she said, if he doesn't, he wasn't getting sick, he was eating, he was healthy, he was running around, he was, beating up on his daddy as puppies do, and his daddy was correcting him, and he had a really good dad. Lobo he was a wonderful, wonderful father. The mother, when the 3 little puppies reached, they were about 3.5 weeks old, she decided, no, I don't want him anymore. And so Lobo started taking care of him. And when it was time to feed, he'd grab a hold of the mother, which we named her Fiona, and he dragged her back into, we had a big, huge kennel, and he would literally drag her into the kennel and hold her down so the puppies can nurse. And then I just said, enough is this. She doesn't want the puppies. She's weaning them early, and it just meant, yes, I had to interfere, and I had to bottle feed them for a little while, and it was fine. It didn't do anything, but then that's when the vet said, because of her weaning them so early, it may have. But then they tested Smokey, and he had dwarfism. They don't know if it came from the mother or the father, because I didn't want to go through that kind of expense of doing that. But yeah, Smokey had dwarfism. So last year he did pass away, and he weighed 1.5 pounds when he passed away. Yeah, he would fit in your hand. And the biggest issue with him was he was kind of ornery. He didn't like strangers. I'm not even sure he liked himself. He was mean. Tiny and mean. We have a neighbor that's a officer, and every time the officer would come over in the yard, Smokey would grab a hold of him by his pant leg, and I'm like going, seriously? You're scared of a dog that weighs 1.5 pounds? And Smokey would have his pant legs. So he would be lifting his leg. Would you get the dog off my pant leg? And Smokey, he was after business. He was funny. And then once in a while he would, because he was so small, we had to keep monitoring, because we have a chain link fence and that kind of thing here. So we'd have to monitor, and that dog could go through between where the poles were. So we had to stick big concrete bricks. And then he discovered, well, if I go through the hole in the concrete brick, I can go out. So we had to watch him constantly. Or he would jump on top of the concrete brick. Excuse me. and go through the fence. So, and he wouldn't do anything. He would just stand on the outside of the fence and make the other dogs bark. But he's the one that, when he passed, what he would do was he'd get in my lap and put his feet on my keyboard and sit there and kind of howl, talking when I was watching YouTube videos on crafting. And it was specific videos. It's like, okay, and then of course it caused the other dogs to start howling. And then he would just sit there, and it didn't matter how long, if it was a 3-hour live or a video, the entire time. And all I did was laugh. Well, when he passed, the other dogs quit. They wouldn't bark. They wouldn't play. They wouldn't howl. They would do nothing. They would go outside, come in the house, and go back to bed. They were mourning the loss because they'd been around him. They were just mourning that loss. Dogs do mourn. And then it was about Smokey passed away like in March, April, June, something like that last year. And then a couple months later, I lost my 22-year-old service dog. So they were mourning more than just one. And then about, I don't know, 3-4 months ago, Zelina, Smokey's sister, she jumped in my lap and was pawing at the keyboard. And I'm like, okay. So I just started flipping through YouTube videos, and Mona came on. I'm thinking, and Zelina starts howling. She's going, nom, 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 and she's just howling. I'm like, seriously? Okay. And what she had done is she heard Mona's dogs, and then Mona picked one up or something, and it just totally did her thing. And then William got on, and he had, I don't remember if it was one of the mannequins out or whatever, and she just went to town again. And then I was watching a couple other ones, Tammy's, and she was just going to town. And then the howling, singing started again. So it was like, yes! And so now when they howl and sing, or Zelina does her thing of going, num, 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 I don't say a word, because it's a little different. They mourned their sibling, and so I won't get mad at them. I just laugh. And they don't sing as long as they used to. It's usually now just maybe 5 or 10 minutes, if even that. But Zelina will sit here in my lap and sit there and watch YouTube videos. And she likes certain crafting ones, but the people have to talk. If they just stand there and don't say anything and just watching them sew, no, she gets down. And then she'll sit there and go, at me. It's like, what do you want me to do about it? But that's the story behind the little thumbnail of Smokey. So, yes, this is a rather short video compared to some of my other ones, but I thought I would let you know what I was working on. And my shirt fell down, but that's okay. But yes, I'm going to turn that one into a table topper. And then I don't know if anybody has been watching the quilt of the month one, which is where that house came from. The other one's behind that, and the one for March that goes on that same, where you're still using the log cabin, but the center, I'm gonna do that today. And I don't know if this comes in backwards. It doesn't come backwards. Cool. This is the one for Tuesday. Oh my word. This is the one for March, and it's right here, and it makes, in that same, like where that house is, it does this heart. It does this heart by Kiss. and I think it's kind of cute. And then she didn't show, but there's she said she could. Oh, let me get this a little closer so you could actually see where it's from. Yeah, where you go to aquiltinglife.com and it's there. But it's gonna be cute blocks. She hasn't shown any, all just these 3. But she said, you know, if you want to sew them together. But then for April, when she puts the video out, she doesn't actually show really sewing the blocks, but the patterns are free. And I'm all in for free patterns. And for me, it is an accomplishment. Twice, you know, my first accomplishment, or whatever you want to call it, is Shalom called it, getting out of the house after almost 5 years, because I don't leave, and the anxiety created because I do fall quite often was too overwhelming, and that's why for me it was something different. And I had to keep my brain focused on fabric and crafts. I could not think about anything else. And I know there was probably thousands of people in that little store, but I couldn't tell you if there was even one. Because I had a sheer focus, because I knew if I didn't focus, I was going to go back to my legs. And then I finally had to tell my hubby, I went, okay, gotta go. Because my right leg totally went numb. I had no feeling in it. And I did not want to fall. So, and at that point, when the leg does that, the cane doesn't help anymore. So I was literally pushing the basket and kind of dragging my leg behind me. You know, it was going straight, but because it was turning sideways, my shoe, I hate wearing shoes because they hurt. So my shoe kind of, the back of the shoe, because they're leather, and it kind of, because it was rubbing wrong and my foot was turning sideways, so it got a little bit of a sore back there. It's not sore, it's just my skin is sore. So I've not been walking, and hubby says, no, you're not going back to Walmart for a while. I think he was more concerned of if I did fall because it was a store, that I would get hurt, and a possibility, or I had to laugh at one of the people in there because they knew who I am, but not who I am, because my hubby, he goes in there so often, they just know who he is. And one of them said, oh, would you like one of the electric wheelchairs? I said, why? Who do you want me to run over? And he goes, oh, I forgot, you can't see. I said, no, I can't. And I said, but I'll drive one, and you just better clear the path. And I said, and steer me in front of one of your big displays, because I guarantee I'm going to run it over. And it was just a funny thing. It was one of the managers or something, I can't remember. It might have been the CSM, I can't remember. But he started laughing. He goes, that doesn't bother you? I said, no, why? Just because I can't drive anymore? And he goes, I just didn't think about it. And I said, most people don't. Because I can sew, but I don't see real well. Sometimes when I'm sewing, the stitches will get really off. It's because I don't see real well, so I have to be really careful when I'm sewing. Because sometimes, and it's like, oh fine, I'll just get the seam ripper out, and I take the seam out, and redo it on a different day. So some projects take me longer than others to do, because I can't, my eyes, they don't focus. I have cortical blindness, and another name that I can't pronounce. I can't remember what it is. Pigmentosa originosis or something like that. But what it is, I have no, like if my hand is, I could see my hand in the camera, but I couldn't, I can see there's a hand there, but it's like there's a funny aurora around it, and so it looks real funny, and then sometimes I'll see 2 or 3 of an item. It's like my vision is not, so it's like I go to grab it and I have, 50% chance of grabbing a hold of the correct piece. Sometimes I miss, sometimes I don't. And I'm not going to get frustrated. At first, when it first started happening, I was very frustrated because it's like, seriously, the only part that's been hard is other than my eyes sometimes will move back and forth and it bothers people. So if I do go out again, I'll probably wear glasses, because it does bother people because they're talking to you and your eyes are over here and they're like, aren't you paying attention? I said, yeah, why? But I'm not looking at them because I can't really see them, because my eyes won't focus back to where they're supposed to be. Other times they do, and but sometimes my eyes will just bounce back and forth, and it's just trying to focus. And then some days, like today, my vision is, for the most part, fairly clear. I mean, that's a little fuzzy, and I think that's why I gear more in my projects towards the bright colors. I can see them. Like the log cabin one, some of those, the blue and that is okay, but some of the other lighter colors, I can't see. I can't tell what it is. I can't tell the color. It could be green, purple, orange, and if it's real light colored, I can't. And the colors that are hardest for me to see is white, to tell if it's an actual white or an off-white. I can't see that. So some of them actually have two different dialects of white. But it's like one of those things. It's a military, or what do you call it? The quilting police. They can stay away from my stuff. I go quilt their. I'm not a perfectionist. I've never claimed to be one, and I'm not going to be one. I have better things to do with my time. So, thank you again, everyone, for watching. You're the greatest community on the planet, and above all else, remain positive, and thank you for watching. Bye-bye.